We're checking in with former Broncos legend Ed McCaffrey and former CU great, always good hearing that, Solomon Wilcots from SiriusXM. Guys, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me. Solomon, let's start with you. From a national perspective, what are the thoughts about this Broncos team? What are the expectations for this season?
Well, there's tremendous buzz that we think circulating around the Denver Broncos. Obviously, the way that Drew Lock finished off the 2019 season going 4-1 in those 5 starts. And then when you add to what they did during the NFL draft and landing receivers of the quality of Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, a prototypical slot receiver who can burn with 4.3 speed, you throw in Noah Fant, the exceptional season had by Cortland Sutton 1 year ago. Now you see the product around Drew Lock becoming really favorable for success. So there's a lot of excitement with this football team. And I think if you dive even deeper and look at some of the additions on defense, I think you can become even more excited.
Ed, I know you follow the Broncos very closely. What do you think's possible for this season? 10 wins, playoffs? What should the goal be?
Well, the goal should be win a Super Bowl. If your goal is any less than that, then you're not setting your goals high enough. But I would say realistically, I'd be disappointed if the Broncos didn't have a winning season. I agree with Solomon that, defensively, they brought in Casey and Boye, a couple of the guys that were hurt are going to get healthy. They were really good in a lot of categories last year. They're hoping to create more turnovers, make a few more big plays. So defensively, I think maybe there's an uptick in their play. And then offensively, yeah, they're young. But John Elway brought in some talent for Drew Lock to throw to. And so some of their success will depend on how quickly they develop. Love the competition at running back, with the addition of Melvin Gordon. Phillip Lindsay is not going to let anybody exhale at all. There's going to be competition there all year, which I like. I think helps the team. Obviously, Fant, I think with another year can do some big things at the tight end position. The question for me on offense is that offensive line. And so I think that, the team will go as far offensively as that offensive line allows them to go. That would be my question mark. I like some of the guys up front, but we got to see them take the field and get it done.
Yeah, Joanne James opting out for the season definitely puts a question mark on the offensive line. Solomon, you mentioned Drew Lock. There's been a lot of buzz this offseason about him and what he might be able to do his sophomore season. What do you think he's capable of in his second time going around?
Well, some of the things that you saw about him at the University of Missouri is the fact that the guy has a serious arm talent. I mean, he can push the ball down the field and he can drive it down the field with great accuracy. And so now when you put him at the NFL level, it's about really just developing the confidence and going there, feel like you can cut it loose and that you can play and play well. Now you've got to be able to absorb the playbook. He spent some time doing that. But I think John Elway put it best when we spoke with him. He said that when Drew Lock came in to those 5 games as a starter, the game wasn't too big for him. And that's really what you want to see. You want to see if that confidence and that swagger, if it's real. Because at the moment when the big lights come on, we found that this guy didn't shrink. He embraced it. In fact, he even welcomed it. And I think that's what a lot of us, as we sit back and watch these young quarterbacks, when you see that, you're really impressed. And when you know that it's real and it's not this fake bravado, I think that's something you can hang your hat on. And Ed could speak to this, I think, even better than I can. When a quarterback steps into the huddle, you could tell by the other 10 guys when they really believe in a young quarterback. And that's what you seem to have with Drew Lock. The guys in that locker room and the guys on that football team, they believe in him, and that really does matter.
I tell you what, it's going to be hard for Drew Lock to play up to the swagger level that he's been showing all offseason. But I love it, man. Even last year when he's sitting there, rapping, singing on the bench, I look more at how his teammates respond to him. And they love him. I mean, he has confidence. He gives them confidence. He backs it up with his play. And you have to be loose. You can't be stressed out and tight to play the game of football, especially at quarterback. I did think coming out of college, he was the smoothest passer of the football. He showed a little bit about that last year. The more confidence he has, the more belief he has in himself, and the more belief he garners from his teammates, the better he will be. But he's starting off right here in terms of swagger level. So hopefully that will, we'll see that on the field as well.
Well, the Broncos certainly gave him some weapons this offseason, including Jeudy. Ed, I know that you were high on that pick. What do you like about Jerry?
I thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. I know they were talking about receivers not going top 10. I thought he might be one of them, and I thought he might be the first receiver taken off the board. You know, he's got a great combination of size, of speed, but I think his route running probably separates him from a lot of receivers. He's quick in and out of his breaks. He creates separation at what I call the moment of truth when you're setting your route up. He has those little idiosyncrasies in his route where you can get DBs leaning. He has great hands. So I think he's a wonderful complement to Courtland Sutton. Courtland being your big, strong receiver who can definitely catch the ball over the middle or just moss somebody on the outside. Adding Jeudy to the mix, I think, helps them exponentially. And I know Courtland showed promise at the end of the year and even picked his game up without that type of a threat on the other side of the ball. But adding Jeudy changes, it doesn't just change the offense for Drew Lock and give him another weapon. It changes it for Courtland Sutton, who I think it's going to be, and they probably won't honor Jerry Jeudy that much in the beginning of the season, but if he plays the way I think he's going to play, they'll have to do that eventually and be more honest, and that will open things up even more for Courtland Sutton.
We talked so much about the offensive side of the ball, but on the other side, Broncos are expecting a top 10 defense. And one of the real strong parts is that safety duo back there, Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons. Solomon, what do you think about that duo? Where do you think they rank in the NFL?
Yeah, I wrote in my PFF.com article when I ranked safety tandems, they were right up there for me because they go out and they take the ball away. I mean, they can do a better job of that, Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons, but they do possess the football. They know how to go out, cut off the passing lanes, whether they're in man or in zone coverage, they tend to play at a very high level. Remember, Kareem Jackson is a former cornerback, moved to safety, so he's very comfortable in man-to-man coverage against wide receivers, against tight ends or running backs coming out of the backfield. And where I think Justin Simmons really excels is when he comes from that center field position and he has to drop down and take maybe a crosser and read the patterns of the offensive wide receivers. He does a really good job and have a feel for what we call pattern reading, right? All wide receiver routes, they are sort of geared to pair with another route within the offense. And that's where I see Justin Simmons really excelling and have a sense for that pattern reading ability. I think they're one of the really good safety tandems in the National Football League.
All right, I'll get you guys out of here on this one. Last one for you. You had a chance to chat with John Elway, Vic Fangio, a bunch of players here today. What's something that you learned? What are you going to take away from your guys' discussions? Solomon, let's start with you.
For me, I think it's their evaluation of players and trying to determine what the final roster is going to look like without having preseason games. Remember, John Elway played in this league, unlike most general managers. He's seen those flash-in-the-pan guys who can kind of look good in practice, and he's got to be able to make a determination if that can carry over and translate to real live action. I think Vic Fangio, again, it's great experience. He's been around the game long enough. I think when it comes down to finalizing that roster, I think they're going to have a really good feel for who are the guys that are going to be able to answer the call when the bright lights come on.
Well, I think John Elway is a no-nonsense general manager and Vic Fangio is a no-nonsense head coach. So in this league, you adapt or die. They've done the best job they could to evaluate talent, bring the guys in through trades and free agency in the draft. Coach Fangio's had time to bring in Pat Shurmur and have him work with the offensive guys. But they're, hey, no excuses. Get it done. That's the type of mentality that they have. We're going to, tee you guys up, and then the players got to go out and get it done. But despite coronavirus, despite all the adversity and difficulty building a roster and evaluating talent, these guys are no nonsense, no excuse type guys, and that's what I like about them.
Ed, Solomon, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil.